The U.S. Army is quietly assembling a new Pacific war machine, investing in advanced forces, logistics and forward basing to deter regional rivals and reassure allies while also preparing for high-intensity conflict scenarios that could stretch across vast maritime domains. Even as President Trump engages in talks aimed at peace with Iran, the Pentagon is simultaneously preparing for the next fight, maintaining and upgrading capabilities so the United States can pivot rapidly from diplomacy to defense should negotiations falter or hostile actors exploit any window of vulnerability. A 12,000-troop strike force has been readied and placed on heightened alert, reflecting a discreet but deliberate U.S. effort to boost war readiness and demonstrate rapid response capacity without fanfare, reassuring partners while signaling credible deterrence to potential adversaries. U.S. tankers have once again surged into the Qatar base, replenishing fuel and logistical stocks as renewed threats in the Strait of Hormuz have returned to the spotlight, underscoring how energy and sustainment lines remain central to any contingency planning in the region. As Iran and the United States negotiate a peace deal, U.S. forces are simultaneously stepping up their military readiness, quietly preparing equipment, logistics and personnel so they can respond rapidly if diplomatic progress stalls or adversaries seek to exploit any perceived lull. The U.S. Army has established a new military formation, the 7th Infantry Division of Pacific Joint Command, a purposeful move intended to create a tailored, regionally focused force capable of operating across the Indo Pacific's complex environments and reinforcing Allied deterrence. This first-of-its-kind formation blends traditional ground combat power with emerging warfare tools, intentionally combining infantry, firepower and maneuver capabilities with advanced sensors, cyber tools and unmanned systems to create a hybrid force suited for modern multi-domain operations. Based at Joint Base Lewis McChord, the unit is reported to comprise roughly 12,000 troops, a substantial force posture that positions personnel and equipment for rapid deployment across the Pacific theater while enabling sustained operations from a forward hub. Described by planners as a largely self-sufficient cover force, the division is intended to perform reconnaissance, counterintelligence and strike missions, operating with integrated support elements so it can detect threats, protect friendly forces and apply timely force where needed. Reports indicate the division will incorporate dedicated cyber and electronic warfare capabilities, and be structured to mount cyberattacks when required, reflecting an explicit recognition that information domain operations are now integral to kinetic campaigns. 2 Stryker Brigade combat teams are expected to coordinate closely with long-range artillery units, creating a combined arms arrangement that pairs mobile armored maneuver with standoff firepower to shape the battlefield and deny adversary freedom of movement. Force planners also intend to deploy unmanned surface vessels and long-range kamikaze drones as part of the unit's organic toolkit, expanding maritime and strike options while reducing risk to personnel and enabling persistent, distributed effects over vast distances. The reorganization aims to tightly integrate intelligence collection, Army artillery, and a broad spectrum of unmanned assets, producing a fused, multi-domain operational picture and the ability to synchronize fires and reconnaissance at speed. This structural shift comes amid wider changes to U.S. Pacific posture and a series of redeployments, part of a broader strategic effort to rebalance forces, improve deterrence and adapt to evolving threats in the region. Moves accompanying the reorganization include reinforcing the island of Guam, realigning units across theater commands, and delivering new weapon systems to Allied and U.S. bases, all intended to enhance sustainment, forward presence and regional interoperability. In a related logistics and air mobility development, U.S. Air Force tankers have returned to Al Udeid Air Base for the first time since Operation Epic Fury in February, replenishing regional aerial refueling capacity and underlining how sustainment and reach remain central to contingency plans. Satellite imagery captured on June 22 revealed at least 12 U.S. aerial refueling tankers parked at the Qatari base, a visible sign of enhanced logistics and reach as planners ensure air assets can sustain extended operations across the Gulf and into adjacent theaters. The tanker presence reportedly surged from virtually zero just last week to a dozen aircraft today, a rapid and conspicuous buildup that analysts say reflects an expedited decision to re-establish forward aerial refueling capacity in response to shifting threat assessments. The return of these aerial refuelers signals a renewed U.S. air power posture in the Gulf region, communicating to partners and potential adversaries alike that Washington is reinforcing its ability to project sustained air operations and maintain operational flexibility across the maritime choke points. This operational move coincided with President Trump's comment that the U.S. could reinstate a Strait of Hormuz blockade within 15 minutes, a stark public assertion intended to underscore Washington's capacity for rapid coercive action while adding political pressure to ongoing diplomatic calculations.
As long as they respect us, I don't want to use the word fear, because that's an inappropriate word. But as long as they respect us, we're not going to have any trouble. We have total control of the strait.
So the mechanism is
we have a Navy that had a blockade. I think the blockade was more impactful than dropping bombs, if you want to know the truth. It was like I said, they call it the steel wall. Nobody got through. Not one ship got through, able to go to Iran. They got through if we wanted them to go through. And we could set that up again in about 15 minutes. I would say, Pete, one phone call. How long would it take? Maybe half hour?
They're ready to go right now if you need to. Yes,
It'll be before we finish the meeting. No, we have, as long as they respect us, we're going to be fine. If they don't respect us, things wouldn't be good, but they have a lot of respect. Don't forget, we had presidents that should have done this for 47 years. Nobody did it. Obama gave them a road to a nuclear weapon. I gave them a wall against a nuclear. They can never, under this agreement, they'll never even think about building a nuclear weapon.
The surge in tanker activity occurred as Iran issued a fresh warning to the United States just days after signing a memorandum of understanding aimed at ending the war, a combination of signals that analysts warn could both reassure deterrence-minded audiences and raise the risk of miscalculation in an already tense environment. Iran issued a fresh warning to the United States just days after signing a memorandum of understanding aimed at ending the war, a move that Tehran says is intended to clarify red lines and deter any attempts to exploit the agreement while diplomats work to translate words on paper into lasting commitments. Iran's acting defense minister declared that Tehran could confront its adversaries despite ongoing negotiations, emphasizing that diplomatic engagement does not diminish the country's willingness or capacity to use military means if it perceives its core interests to be threatened. The minister warned that Iran could respond on the battlefield to any US breach during talks, stressing that violations of the memorandum would draw immediate and proportionate military reactions intended to impose costs and restore deterrence. Al-Riza said Iran would strengthen its military posture across all domains throughout the negotiations, signaling an intent to maintain robust defensive and offensive capabilities while talks proceed so as to preserve strategic leverage. Iran's armed forces were described by the defense minister as standing at their highest level of readiness, language intended to convey seriousness to both domestic audiences and foreign capitals that Tehran remains prepared for rapid military action if required. Ibn al-Riza also proclaimed that Iran's adversaries would ultimately be left defeated, disappointed, and regretful, a combative forecast meant to reassure supporters and warn opponents that any miscalculation would carry heavy strategic and political consequences.